I'm Uber YouTuber, and you're watching MBL Live, the king of Madden NFL franchise mode, right here on the MBL Network.
Thank you for tuning in to the MBL Network, and you're watching the MBL Blitz.
What's going on, MBL? Welcome to our Season 24 live pre-draft special. We're going to have a lot to talk about as we have both Gub and Dough here with us to discuss their full 32-man first-round mock drafts, as well as JY and Chunky here behind the scenes, helping give us a deeper look into some of these rookies. Also, we don't want to forget about the man pulling the strings here today, and that is, of course, the one and only Delvar. Huge shout-out to Delvar. None of these live shows that we do here on the MBL Network would be possible without him. Between MBL live games, our draft special, the live draft, the Commissioner's Corner podcast, Delvar's always giving his time to make sure we get these live events out for the Madden community. So thank you for all you do behind the scenes, Delvar. And a big additional thanks to CMF, who does all the graphics that you're going to see here on the show today. Whenever we need a graphic, he's on it immediately. So big shout out to these two guys, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to put on these shows. So without further ado, let's introduce our panel for the day. First is going to be my co-host. That's going to be the owner of the Buccaneers and the creator of the MBL All-Rookie Team. That's JY. JY, man, how excited are you to see who these mock drafts have you selecting?
I'm pretty excited. You know, I have ways of where I thought I was going to be drafting, but it's nice to take a look at these and make sure that either one, I'm correct, or two, I'm still as stupid as I was last year for picking Tennessee to take a quarterback in the first round, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see who you're going to take. I know that I always listen to what they have to offer. It doesn't mean I'm always going to take that person, but it's always nice to see who they got us taken. Next up, he's going to be the newest member of our Blitz team. That's going to be the owner of the MBL Chargers and the reigning most improved owner of the year. That's right, Chunky is back on the Blitz for our biggest episode of the year. Chunky, how does it feel to be here for this episode with us?
Hey man, I'm just so glad to be here again. Thanks to you guys for inviting me on the show. Always love being here. Can't wait to get started tonight.
Yeah, we loved having you last time. We're glad to have you back. Now we're going to get to both of our draft experts. These are the guys you want to hear from. These are the guys that are going to be handling most of this show. They've both been studying for days, all year long. They've been working hard, really putting in work, watching the combine, seeing which prospects were going to set themselves apart from the rest. So without further ado, first up, we're going to have the owner of the Redskins. Let's get those hashtags going in the chat. That's going to be hashtag Team Gub. Show your support for Gub Kuiper Jr. Gub, are you excited to get rolling and show that you are the top draft expert?
Very, very excited. I've been waiting this for a long time, and I'm ready to get the show on the road.
Yeah, and you know, some people were pretty critical of you last year. They talked about how, you know, you were a draft expert, but you really weren't having that much success in the draft. So I hope you can do a little bit better this year. Next up, we're going to have the owner of the Texans. Let's get those hashtags up again. This is going to be for Doughboy. Hashtag Team Dough. Show your support for Doughboy McShay. Dough, you guys were split about 50-50 last year in terms of support. What makes you the better draft expert?
Well, I appreciate you saving the best for the last. I'm most definitely the draft guru. Gub is still kind of learning. As we saw last season, he just kind of goes with the whim. But we're going to have some fun tonight, and we're going to do a good mock, and hopefully Gub can learn some things.
We're definitely going to be having a good draft tonight. I'm really excited to see who you guys have picked. So without further ado, let's jump into it. These are going to be picks 1 through 8. Gub, we're going to switch over to you first. You're going to give us your picks for your mock draft on 1 through 8.
All right. Well, you got the Baltimore Ravens here at number 1. going Aaron Callaway. As you see, me and Doe, it's about the only thing we're probably going to agree on. Ravens love the secondary play. Probably between that and receiver, the two best positions in this draft. I don't see him going receiver with Dillard Lloyd and Ben Gilbert. Aaron Callaway is the best corner in this draft, so I see them pairing him up with Troy Kenny. At number 2, I got the Bucs going with Nick McKay, cornerback out of Georgia. There's been some talk from JY about possibly going offensive line. I don't see them going offensive line at 2. I don't think you go offensive line at 2. You need, more of a playmaker, somebody that's going to, make plays. They just brought in Le'Veon Bell. There's going to be linemen there in the second round for them to possibly take to help out Le'Veon Bell.
A player that's worse than Le'Veon Bell at the second overall pick? Get out of here.
What? Oh, okay. This is the pick where you're wrong, and I'm going to be right here with the Broncos at 3. I think they're looking for somebody to pair up with Whitlock. Best receiver in this draft is Patrick Amy, without any question. I know you think DeLance Virgil is.
I don't think I know. Amy had a horrible combine.
Only reason why you think he is because of the speed. You're becoming Bananas Jr., okay? The only reason why you think he's the best. No, we learn from Trey Hackett? Come on now.
Trey Hackett ran a 4.3. This guy ran a 4.6. Come on, don't.
What about Dillard Lloyd?
They're not
about
similar.
Dillard Lloyd over in Baltimore?
Dillard Lloyd ran a 4.4. He's 92.
No, CMF even said he had the same attributes, the same 40s and all that coming out.
Amy did a horrible combine.
You're crazy.
You've been infatuated since you saw that catching drill
mid-season. That's all you need to see.
Yes, he can catch.
I understand speed kills.
But if he can't separate, then the good
so does that ability that he has to catching. All right.
Get out of here.
At number 4, I got this Seattle Seahawks going cornerback Iran Lynn. I think they need to boost up their secondary a little bit. He's the best cornerback that'll be on the board at that time. At number 5, I have them going with my boy Taco Bacon. I got a little bit of a little word that they are switching to a 34. Taco Bacon, there isn't many good defensive ends in this draft.
Yeah, if they're going 3-4, Taco Bacon is a monster. That's some inside knowledge I didn't have, but I think it's still a little high for a defensive end. This draft's really weak.
He's the best. I know. I understand it is weak. It's not a very good end draft in this. This dude is the real deal. He's worth a top 5 pick. At number 6, I got the Browns taking wide receiver Vaughn Crockett. They got Corey Coleman. They got Josh Gordon. Now he's over 30. I don't think he's got much left in the tank. Von Crockett kind of reminds me of Jawara Suggs from the Atlanta Falcons. So I think
we agree the Browns need offense, but they can't throw the ball to another receiver. They already got 2 guys. I think halfback here is a big spot.
I disagree a little bit though, because running backs are diamond. You can find a running back anywhere. I mean, Bananas, a few years ago took someone right off of JY's practice squad and he won the MVP. So I don't think a running back in the top 10 is very good.
Yeah, these speed guys you keep mentioning, you must value them unless you like Patrick Amy, who ran a geriatric 40.
No, speed kills, but I don't value these speed guys like you.
So you're a bit that speed makes Virgil the best receiver, right?
No, that's you. I think Amy's the best receiver. You just said
speed kills.
Speed kills, but also does.
And yet now you're going to go back to a slow receiver.
It was just proving a point
slow, tall that can catch. No. Get out of here.
No, knock it off. I'm proving a point that you can find a running back undrafted or off of somebody's practice squad and take him. You don't need to waste a top 10 pick on it.
Carrying ball carrying vision is
number
important.
7, Carolina Panthers. I got him taking your boy, DeLance Virgil out of Ohio State. Is good. He is
best
fast.
Pick on your top 8.
They lost Kelvin Benjamin. They got rid of a couple years ago. Devin Funch is over in Cincinnati now. AJ Green's gone. They got a problem with getting rid of these receivers. I do think they take one, though. They need help in that. Both agree on that. And then I got, at number 8, I got the middle linebacker, Ben Tafoya, going to the Broncos. They lost Brandon Marshall. Ben Tafoya is the best linebacker in this draft, whether it be outside or middle. He's the best linebacker. So I got him filling in for Brandon Marshall, who they lost in free agency.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few guys that you had here. We got a scouting report, actually. You guys both matched up with Aaron Callaway there, the cornerback going first overall. Let's get a scouting report on Aaron Callaway. We got our scouting report guy, JY. JY, what can you tell us about Aaron Callaway?
Aaron Callaway has height. It's one of his best attributes. With that height, he gets long reach. He can get up on the press at the line of scrimmage. He's really good in zone. He plays man coverage well. He turns his hip, so he's got good motion going up the field. He does have a little trouble locating the ball when it's in the air. He's going to be there one-on-one in the guy's back pocket, but playing the ball is really going to be a bad situation for him.
I agree with everything he said there, though. But the playing the ball down the field, that can all be taught with technique. Not having reading the receiver's eyes and stuff. So I'm not too worried about him as far as that.
Yeah, he's hands down the best corner in this draft. I think we agree on that. There's not many things. This is a very good corner draft, but this guy's one step above them all. I think he's pretty much guaranteed first round, first pick type player.
Yeah, and I got a question for both you guys. You guys both have 3 cornerbacks going within the top 4 selections. Last year we saw a big run on quarterbacks. It looks as almost though this is going to be the same thing except with the defensive side and cornerbacks. Do you think that cornerback's the deepest position in this draft?
I think secondary is the deepest position if you include the safeties and the corners for sure. I think that's not arguable. I do believe this is a deep wide receiver class on offensive side, but the QBs are not here this year.
Yeah, and we definitely see that when you look through the scouting report. Let's get a combine report going. We got a combine card here for cornerback Nick McKay. Let's head over to Chunky. Chunky's going to be handling the combine cards here. So what can you tell us? They both got Nick McKay here at number 2, probably the only 2 picks that they agreed on for most of the day. Chunky, what do you got for us on Nick McKay?
Well, Nick McKay had a great combine. He was top 10 in every category, every workout he did amongst cornerbacks. He had a great 3-cone at 6.75, and he had a great bench press at 21 reps, which was 4th among cornerbacks. Really expect to see this guy just come out of the gates, very fast at a 4.4 40, and has great press coverage skills. So I think he's going to be an absolute great corner in the league.
No, Doe, I talked to you a little bit earlier. I know that you're really high on a lot of the corners in this draft, but I also know that you're high on wide receiver DeLance Virgil. Can we get a combine card up here for DeLance Virgil? This guy really lit it up at the combine. Chunky, what can you tell us about Virgil?
Virgil's just a great athlete. Like they said, he's probably one of the best receivers in this draft, and you cannot go wrong with a receiver like Virgil. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it up. Made Delvar laugh. Somebody over there.
Just let Doe bring him up. He's
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day about this guy. I mean, he's out of the Ohio State
Bananas
University.
Jr. Take over. Let's go.
And him and Bobo, the QB, he's probably the best QB in the draft. He'll go down a little later in the mock. They just lit it up this season. He ran a 4.38 40.
Wrong. But Doe, you're a terrible liar.
Let's not start this, all right? I'm big league, you're small league, all right?
All right.
Delaine's Virgil,
Okay.
B+ release, B- spec catch, B+ catching, and he has the speed to separate, agility to make the moves, and I wish that him and Amy can line up so he can run laps around the guy.
All right, I'm going to jump in because I have a question for you about him. The one thing that I noticed that isn't on that list as far as his attributes, route running. That's something that I guess Bomber's been showing people for years that it's key to have good route running. What do you think about this guy's ability to make the cuts and make the right routes?
I will give him that. Hold on. I will give you that. The route running, neither one of them in there, but the route running is so easy to develop now. I mean, you can go from a 70-something almost up to a 90 in 1 year, especially if they're a starter. I mean, when it comes to route running, it's to me, it's not that big of a deal that it's not one of his top 3 attributes. That'll be easy to develop. But
route running, you can get route running. That just takes a few years, couple depth chart, practice team development, and his route running will go right up.
With that kind of speed, isn't he pretty much just running a 9 route most of the game?
No, not with his height.
Yeah.
Come on. He's
dude.
6'2". It's not like he's a 5'8".
He's 6'5".
Speed guy.
He's 6'5". Bananas Jr.
Randy Moss? I mean, are we going to compare him almost to like Randy Moss when Randy Moss came out, where you just say, go run down there and I'll throw it up as high as I can?
No, that's Trey Hackett.
He can definitely run past a corner, unlike Amy, who's going to get caught up by probably...
He's going to catch everything. He'll moss everybody. You don't need to outrun you. He'll just moss you.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. Delan's Virgil, there was a lot of talk before the combine came out about the other two wide receivers. It wasn't about Virgil, it was about Amy, and it was about I believe it was Crockett.
Yeah,
That was who all the talk was on. And Virgil came out at the combine, and all of a sudden he just shot up the board. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see where he does end up going. I think there's a very wide range for Virgil. I think there's still going to be guys like you're saying, Gub. I think there's still going to be guys that like Amy and like, his height, and same with Crockett. I think there are going to be guys that like those two guys.
It reminds me of the same draft when you had Hackett, you had Suggs, and you had Whitlock. Hackett and Suggs were your number. I mean, Hackett didn't, or Suggs didn't go to the combine. He reminds me exactly of a Von Crockett, great attributes and everything. But you have Whitlock reminds you of, a Virgil. He's the same type of receiver. Amy is a Hackett, and then Crockett is just like Suggs. It reminds me of that same draft.
Hackett
Whitlock
ran a 4.33.
But when it comes to size and catching ability, there is.
Size,
Dillard Lloyd was a first-round pick, or he should have been a first-round pick, but he
was
wasn't.
a third-round pick.
But I'm saying he should have been a first-round pick. He had all the talent, and Amy is just like him, and he is having a phenomenal.
He's a red zone threat that
can't
can't separate.
Don't need to separate. He'll go over you.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. I want to switch gears here. We've been talking about the corners, talking about the wide receivers, but I wonder if anybody in the chat kind of picked up on this. There's one thing that I really picked up on in this mock draft. This question's going to go for you, Doe. You've got a free safety being taken at 5, and then a halfback being taken at 6. Now these two things blow my mind because if I know anything about drafts. It's that normally you can get very good value at these positions later on in the draft, especially halfback. I think this might be the earliest I've ever seen a halfback go in the MBL, at least for your mock draft. What can you tell us about Hobart? What makes you think that Hobart is so special that you have him going at 6?
He's a 3-down back, and I think the Browns really need to get a running back they can trust. They need to play the ground game. Fry has done the passing routes. He's drafted the wide receiver. He's drafted the QB. Now he needs to draft a running back and give it a shot. I think it's going to improve his offense a ton. You can trust Hobart. He doesn't fumble. He's a solid back. Good attributes all around. And in regards to Bingham, I think we can agree he's the best safety in the draft. And I think the Seahawks need to get some defensive coverage skills. They lost both their safeties over the time. I think Earl Thomas is playing for the Eagles now. And James Bingham will come right in and fill that void and be a star for them.
Yeah, I can't really argue with you. I took a free safety at, I believe it was 16 in last year's draft. And it really worked out for me, but at pick 5, I think there's a lot of development that can go into these guys that you can get a solid free safety a little bit later in the draft. But time will tell. This is just a mock, so no telling what's going to happen, and no telling who these guys are going to be. If they're going to be the next best thing or if they're going to be busts. Let's switch focus here quick. We're going to go to picks 9 through 16. That's what's up next. Doe, we're going to switch to you on this one. Who do you got for us in your mock draft and picks 9 through 16?
Yeah, I got the Giants coming up first on pick 9, and they're going to take an absolute stud in defensive tackle, Darren Paysinger. He blew the combine out. He's fast, strong, quick, agile, and he's greatly going to improve that pass rushing. They lost Vernon in the offseason. They need a star to go on the defensive line and make some plays, and he's going to side next to J.J. Watt, who they just brought in, and it's going to be a very, very good combo.
It was a toss-up for me there, Doe. It was a toss-up. I do like the Paysinger. He is the best defensive tackle in this draft. Like you said, they did lose Vernon. They got Hankins there at defensive tackle. He would be very good to pair up. It was a toss-up between Barlow and Paysinger. So I do agree with you there on that pick if they do decide to go with that route.
Well, I'm glad we're starting off friendly. I'm sure it's going to get rougher as we go down. I got the Seahawks going with Von Crockett. I think that they need to get the offensive firepower going. I think that was a trade with the Packers. And I have the Packers going wide receiver Von Crockett. They got 2 wide receivers that are getting older in Cobbs and Adams. And I think Crockett will fit right in with the Packers. Eagles, I have taken middle linebacker Ben Tafoya. You spoke about him earlier. I think he's the best linebacker. They need to get a coverage guy. They drafted one a few drafts back that hasn't really panned out. I think this is the time they're going to get the guy
What
they
do you
want.
know, Doe? What do you know? We agree again. Middle linebacker, good position there. I was looking at their roster, and they are very unathletic at the linebacker position. I think they got one linebacker over 80 speed. I believe they have Hightower in the middle right now, but I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. I have Tafoya already going in the top. What is it? Top? I believe I got him going. I got him going Devon Hayward. I do agree with you again on that pick at 11.
And then we got the Dolphins. Again, though, you mentioned Takoi Bacon, and he's by far the best defensive end, and I think he's going to greatly improve the pass rush for the Dolphins. They do need offensive line, so Nedney would be a good pick there. But I think they invested last draft in a few late-round, mid-round tackles that they actually like and are going to try and develop. Cardinals, I have taken the Heisman winner, Marcus Haynesworth. They had great success last year picking up Smallwood. I think they're going to pair him with Haynesworth and have a deadly combo at outside linebacker to create that pressure. Giants are back in again with pick 14. I think they're going to go double down on the defensive line. If you can't get to the quarterback, you're not going to win any games. They're going to take a guy that shot up. He had a great combine, and they're talking about his work ethic. AC Shote, he's a fast, agile, 4.3 defensive end. I think he ran like a 4.64, so you know he has speed. And the scouts really like him, so he might be able to make a big impact. And that line would be scary with all those guys on it. At 15, I have the Patriots taking a defensive tackle. The defensive line is pretty thin, so I think after the defensive tackles and these two ends, there's not going to be many more. But I think that the Patriots definitely need to solidify that line. And then the Jaguars, they lost Allen Hurns in the offseason. They're cash strapped and they need a playmaker. And I got Quintezi Lawson going off the board at wide receiver at pick 16.
First guy I want to touch on before we get to you, Gub, we'll get back to you. First guy I want to touch on, you mentioned him early. That's going to be middle linebacker Ben Tafoya. Gub, you had him at 8. Though you've got him at 11, so you got him, really close. Both, like you both said, you both like him at middle linebacker. Personally, I really like Tafoya. I think the guy put up monster numbers in college on a draft that's relatively weak at the linebacker position. Gub, this one for you first. Do you think that this is one of the only guys who can come in at the linebacker spot and make an immediate impact?
He will make the biggest impact. I think Devon Hayward can make an impact. Who I have
I think there's three middle linebackers that can make an impact.
Hampton, who I believe going to 19 to the Bears can make an impact. I was going to get on it. I don't agree with the Cardinals going outside linebacker Marcus Haynes. I don't think there's an outside linebacker in this draft worth a first round, especially in the top 15. They took Smallwood, I believe it was last year. I believe they go offensive line. I think it'll be the safest pick at that time for them. And then also,
they're a value team though, and that's the Heisman winner. I mean, the Cardinals love their value.
The Heisman winners haven't always panned out. I mean, they're still waiting in Kansas City on what's his name to make a play over in their secondary. But at 12 too with Taco Bacon, can I see them going there? He's a 3-4. I don't believe they run a 3-4. I think they're 43. I think they go with a left tackle Christian Nedney to help protect their franchise quarterback with Asher Darby, who did have a pretty good rookie year last year.
I'm going to take over here real quick. While we're on Ben Tafoya, I want to throw up the scouting report we got here. We're going to send it over to JY on the scouting report for Ben Tafoya. What do we got, JY, on this middle linebacker?
He's going to be legendary. I mean, another linebacker out of Florida State. We saw a guy last year, Elion Kroom, that came in, made an immediate impact, made my all-rookie team. But here, Tafoya is, he's a lights-out hitter. I mean, he is a steamroller. He's explosive from sideline to sideline, which really helps his ability to cover tight ends. He did get 10 passes defended last year in 2021. And he does have some negativity about him. He just relies on his speed and athleticism. He doesn't really make all the right reads and hit the right holes, but he just lets his instincts and feel really take over. And that's really going to mean that he's going to take play actions and just crush a running back when he should be out in the flats.
Yeah, and speaking about crushing a running back, let's shift our focus a little bit more to the defensive line. We notice more and more recently defensive line play in the MBL is huge. You're seeing a lot of these teams that are winning a lot of games have a great defensive line. They're getting to the passer. They're stopping the running back in the backfield. So let's get the scouting report up on defensive end Takoi Bacon. That's not Taco. That's actually Takoi. What do we got, JY, on Takoi Bacon?
I really think Taco Bacon would have been a better name, but I guess we'll give him his real one at Takoy. He's going to be just like Max Larock. He is able to get his hands, his feet, his hips, get them all working together and really get that edge. He's really a good hand grappler who can control opponents and really drive shoulder pads back on offensive linemen. He doesn't really have good lateral quickness and twitch, so to get out there against speedy running backs. So obviously the NFC South would be a bad place for this guy to end up.
Yeah, and Doe, Gub, both of you, what do you guys think about the defensive linemen in this draft? I know that the defensive end is a little bit weak outside of Takoy Bacon. I know that, it's not the deepest for defensive ends. So do you think it's smarter to take one earlier in the draft? Or do you think that you might be able to get some value down the road? Because from what I've seen, there's not much value at the defensive end position.
No, you're right. I mean, if you don't take one early, then there's no point in taking. I mean, not deep at all, like you said. The defensive tackle position could be one of the best we may have seen coming out in this MBL drafts. But like you said, the defensive end positions, they just, besides my boy Taco Bacon, there's no other really anybody worth much of a first rounder. Although I do have the Giants going with Lee Hayer sneaky. He had a good combine.
Yeah, I think those are sneaky guys that I think are going to be depth value players that can improve. But if you want a bona fide starter, I think really Bacon's the only one. I do like Shote, but there's not many that you can trust in the first round and feel confident, 100% confident on them other than Bacon.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And a guy that I talked to you both earlier about, you guys were both raving about this guy. You thought he was the best defensive tackle in this draft. We're going to switch over our focus to Darren Hainsworth. Doe, you have him going at 9. Gub, you have Darren Hainsworth going all the way down at 15.
I think you made Paysinger.
Or Paysinger, sorry. Yeah, I had two different players on my mind here. We'll get to Marcus Hainsworth next, but Darren Paysinger, you have him at 9. Gub, you have him at 15. Let's get the combine card up because this guy had a really, really good combine at defensive tackle. Chunky, I hope you got it pulled up this time. Who can you tell us about Darren Paysinger here?
This time I got it. Let's see. Darren Paysinger, very fast defensive tackle. That's one thing that really sticks out for me is that he's very fast. Number 1 in the 40-yard dash, number 1 in the 3-cone. He's got decent strength for a defensive tackle. Was put up 27 reps at the combine, which was 15th among defensive tackles. But another good thing about him is getting off his blocks. He's very good at that. He's got great block shed, and he's got a great power move with him. He's going to be a good defensive tackle in the league.
Now, this one's for you, Chunky, before we get back to Doe and Gub. Do you think that he's more of a 4-3 defensive tackle? You think that he's going to fit more into a 4-3 system where he can get on the guard and maybe even outside a little bit more at the defensive tackle spot rather than a nose tackle?
I do. I think he'll do very well in a 4-3 system, and I think ideally a 4-3 system for Paysinger would be just help him thrive very much.
Yeah, I can get this one up right now. Paysinger does not need to do any gap play. He is a pure attack pass rusher.
Yeah,
put him
absolutely.
in a 4-3 offense. Don't tell him to do anything other than sack the quarterback, and he's going to be a star.
I agree. I agree with him.
All right, now I'm going to ask both of you, and because I am the Bucs owner, do you think it would be a stretch if he were to go higher than, let's say, 3,
Are you
4, or
asking
5?
who you should pick for pick 2, and if a defensive tackle is worth it? No.
No, you need more of a playmaker.
Playmaker.
I guess
Corner or wide receiver.
Yeah, if you're going to be at 2, I mean, obviously you take who you want, but I think
or just take a QB because last time you selected a really good one last year.
Speaking of that, who did the Giants bring in? They already had Bailey Holmes, and they just brought in Dronette, I think it was. Was it Dronette that came in?
Dronette.
Yeah, but remember the previous owner selected Bailey, and this new owners never really liked him. So this might be a coach's decision to bring in Dronette. I don't think Holmes is going to survive. I think
it's a waste of money.
If you don't like him, you don't like him.
But before we get off topic here, I've got one more guy I want to focus on here. Doe, this was a big one for me. This was a really important one, and you touched on it earlier. Outside linebacker Marcus Hainsworth. This guy, now, this is why we have these mock drafts. This is why we have the draft experts. You've got him going at pick 13. And I just want to point out to all of the viewers who don't know about Marcus Hainsworth, the guy won the Heisman Trophy, but he's not really projected until about the 3rd round, I believe. So, Doe, what makes you think that he could potentially go all the way as high as 13? And do you really think he's going to be one of the top players off the board?
Yeah, I think if you want a pass rushing outside linebacker, he's the best one. So you ask yourself what teams need to get a outside linebacker. And I think that for the Cardinals, they want to pair up another one with Smallwood, who won every award possible for his position. And if they can get another pass rusher and not get Smallwood double teamed every time, and you know that the development for Hainsworth's going to be there. So you got to look down the road and see if you can make that player into his potential. And I think right at their pick range, they're going to get great value for that.
You bring up a really good point. You know, we saw what the Cardinals did last year with Buchanan and Smallwood. If they were to get another linebacker to go with that, if they were to have Hainsworth, Smallwood, and Buchanan, if Hainsworth really pays out, I think that could be, you know, the best linebacking core we've ever seen in the MBL. I think that'd be just insane.
Better than the Redskins?
Oh yeah, I think that'd be just
absolutely
insane.
Stop. Knock it off.
That's a far reach for me, man. Gub made his name known drafting those linebackers, so he is linebacker university for the MBL.
Well, the Cardinals are turning into it now. Let's go ahead. We're going to switch over to picks 17 through 24. We're halfway through this mock draft. Gub, we're going to be switching back over to you. What can you tell us about your picks for 17 through 24?
Okay, at 17, I got these New Orleans Saints going with DeMarco Poteet, one of the top 5 corners in the coming out in this draft.
What was his 40 time?
I'm not quite. Maybe in the maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, Bananas ain't taking him.
Well, you got a point there. He is, but you are Bananas Jr. At 18, we got the San Diego Chargers going with who I think is the best quarterback in the draft with Hudson Paulson. I can't remember who they have on the roster right now. It ain't anybody special.
They got Simeon.
Trevor
they got
Simeon
playing
yeah.
QB, and they're going
Right.
After Patriots released their quarterback.
Oh, Doring.
The
Well, they
lefty.
must have not have been It's Doring. They must not have been watching the Patriots for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but the Patriots can't develop any players, so you just never know the true value. It's like the Bucks and the Patriots. You take the players and the Pro Bowlers the next season. So
I don't know, man. Doring might be a star.
I got you, but I think Paulson will be a good pick for them at 18. At 19, I got the Chicago Bears taking middle linebacker Shundrez Hampton.
That's a
We
good
touched
pick. I like Hampton.
We touched a little bit on him earlier. We all know how much Draco loves defense. We all hear about that Draco defense. I think Shundrez Hampton in the middle of that defense would be special. At 20, I got the Tennessee Titans taking Trayvon Groom. I think he's the best safety in this draft.
They just released a star safety. Why are they going to pick one in the first?
That's why I think they're going to take one. I know you can get him later. I think this guy's too good to
If they
pass up on.
wanted one, all they had to do was re-sign the guy they had. He was better than Groom.
Oh,
Not saying
right.
Groom's bad, but come on.
He's cheaper. He's saving some money right there.
Cheaper, but he ain't better. And they just let the guy walk. They're going to take a QB.
He'll be better.
They hate Mariota. It's already been known. They benched him for 4 different guys and a running back one time.
They'll play Mariota. It doesn't take much. I can go out there, turn around, and hand the ball up to Derrick Henry and let him do his thing.
He got injured twice.
You don't replace Marcus Mariota with a LaVaris Bobo. Okay,
Listen,
you don't
Bobo
replace him.
might be the best name ever.
Jersey sales go through the roof.
Bobo's
And
got
Mariota,
a
he
weenie.
doesn't like.
Bobo has a weenie arm. Okay.
Bobo is accurate. Mariota throws the ball 20 feet past the guy.
Paulson's more accurate than Bobo. That's why I got him.
Paulson got benched this season in college, lost a ton of value, and Bobo's been blowing it up with Virgil, the best receiver.
He's the best quarterback in this draft. Okay.
Okay,
At 21,
we'll see.
I got the New York Jets taking wide receiver Quintez Lawson. Now, if he falls to the Jets, they're going to be very happy. I could see him going earlier. If he makes it out of the top 10, that's why I see him falling there, because after the 10, there's not a lot of teams that need an immediate need at the receiver position. That's why I have him fallen a little bit to the New York Jets. I think they would be thrilled if he fell there.
Yeah, I think the Jets need a receiver, but I think they're going to grab a cornerback because there's going to be a cornerback at pick 21, and later in the draft there's not going to be one. But I do think they're going to go receiver and corner. I just think corner is going to be pick 21, and they have 2 picks this year, so the second pick and the first will be a wide receiver.
At 22, the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I'm going with Leonard easily. The Bengals, they were one of the teams where I had a tough time actually putting somebody out there for them. They're so well-rounded. They got a lot of good players. I just think why not pick up another weapon at AFC North to try to keep pace with Lip, and DMF can even put up points. He can't stop anybody. He can put up points. So I think that would be another good weapon for them outside at the receiver position. At 23, I got the Falcons going with guard Rashad Logan. I think he's the best guard in this draft. I know they just took one recently. I don't remember his name, but last year or 2 years ago, I do think they want to help shore up that offensive line. And then here,
we agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, wide receiver for the Cowboys at 24, Santaris Kaysen. Lost Dez in the past. They lost Terrence Williams in the past. I think Santaris Kaysen will be the best receiver left on the board when you get to 24. So why not get, Kevin Womack another, weapon to help that offense out?
Yeah, they went wide receiver last season, but they didn't have a pick to the 4th round, and I think they're just geeking to get a receiver in the 1st round this year.
Yeah, that's a team I'm surprised I didn't see. No, I'm sure they were able to, but I was surprised a little bit that they didn't try to trade up. I don't know if they have, but to try to go up and get one of those studs, Amy or Virgil's or one of those guys, one of the surefire studs.
I just think the owner's just a patient waiter. He's gonna get somebody later.
He's running out of time. Got to be able to keep up with the Skins.
Speaking of the Cowboys, new owner Bots taking over the Cowboys. And if I know anything about Bots' draft history, he's going to surprise us with something in the 1st round. He's going to figure out a way to, go completely crazy in this 1st round. So hopefully he listens to you guys and goes with, that wide receiver. One thing I want to point out here, you both talked about Lavaris Bobo and Hudson Paulson. Their first 2 quarterbacks off the board. Those really look like the only 2 guys that can really do something for your team. Do you think that either of these quarterbacks can actually come in and be a starter as a rookie, or are they both guys that are going to need a little bit of time before they're ready?
They ain't got much time, so yeah, they're gonna have to come in. Especially if the Chargers don't get Doring, if somebody comes in and gets a better offer and he goes somewhere else, I think they got to go. I don't think you go into a season with Trevor Siemian as your quarterback. That's why, like I said, I haven't taken Hudson Paulson at.
Yeah, and that's smart. Doe, what do you think? Do you think that either of these guys can actually start?
In the MBL, we really don't see that many QBs sitting. When you draft a QB in the 1st round, you're looking to start them. I think both will start out, and I think I like the Chargers with the QB, but if they get Doring, I think they're going to grab a receiver, give Doring a shot. They lost Keenan Allen, and they need to pair up another receiver next to their. I think they have a receiver they like, but they need to pair the receivers up and give Doring an option to get the ball down the field.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think it's much better to give your quarterback some weapons if he's not that great. It makes it a little bit easier on him. He doesn't have to, make big plays, make throws down the field, make the wide receivers make the plays for him. I want a question for you. This is a very interesting, area to pick. These are the guys that are normally, these are good teams. They didn't quite get to that next level. And a lot of the time, these are the teams that are trying to get to that next level. So, Joe, let's get your take first. This is going to be for both of you. Joe, let's get your take. These are teams that are really good. Which of these players between 17 and 24 do you think has the best chance to push a team over the edge from good to great and really contend in the playoffs?
Not the Bengals.
Not the Bengals.
Not the Bengals. Nice.
Is that because they seem to get knocked out in the 1st round every year? So it doesn't matter who they take. They're going to continue the trend.
I think Lip just toys with them just to mentally destroy them.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
The Bengals are destined to be the little brother that gets beat up and goes and cries to mom and daddy about how mean the older brother is. I honestly really like the Eagles. I think they've been sneaky good for the past few seasons, and they're in the hardest division. But I think the Eagles are coming for Gub, and I think they're going to get in there and surprise some teams.
I'm going to say not the Bears. Poor Bears. They're stuck with the Lions. He can't get away from them. They got a solid team, but I just think they're just Detroit's little brother.
Yeah, if Draco ever learned how to play offense, it'd be scary. But he's a defensive genius. He's always 1st or 2nd or 3rd in MBL in defensive yards allowed, but he can't get a touchdown to save his life in games. I mean, I feel bad for the guy, but I think the Eagles, like I said, if you have to answer the question directly, I think the Eagles are going to make the playoffs this season, and maybe the Saints.
I think the Saints have a very good shot. You know, one and only's gone now. You know, we had the retirement of the defending Super Bowl champion. So I think that I think the Saints will definitely. I think the Saints definitely have a shot at taking that division. I think that's a very key pick for the Saints. If they can get somebody that really helps their team a lot, I think that they could make a very, very high jump up the playoffs next year. Let's jump over now, picks 25 through 32. Or actually, you know what? Before that, we've got a couple combine cards that I want to talk about. We had a couple of offensive linemen there. Brennan Barrett. We got a combine card for right guard Brennan Barrett. You have him going, Doe, at 17. I believe, Gub, I don't know if you had him going earlier, if you have him going later. But Brennan Barrett was a guy that really lit up the combine. So let's get that combine card up. Chunky, are you still here with us, Chunky?
I'm here.
Perfect. Let's get that combine card up. What can you tell us about right guard Brennan Barrett?
Brennan Barrett, very strong is one thing that sticks out to me. Put up 39 reps at the combine, which was first amongst guards. So that sticks out to me right away. Another thing that sticks out to me for him, he put up a 4.85 40, which was also first amongst guards at the combine. And you look at his college stats, he's going to be a very good blocker, very reliable for you on your offensive line. And if you draft him, that's going to be one of the things you don't have to worry about is wherever he's at, he's not letting guys get by.
Unless you drop back to pass. Because I see a C+ on that pass block, and I think he's got some footwork he's got to need to work on.
Yeah, that's one thing as well, is that his very average pass block, but I think that's something that he can get better at and something he's going to work at. And I think it's maybe to be worried about his rookie season, but beyond that, I don't think not so much. I think he's very developable right guard.
Yeah, and you saw it last year. You know, the Lions really went ahead. They had 3 rookies that they went with on the offensive line, and all 3 of those rookies made the all-rookie team. So you saw that, you know, these guards can play out. I think if somebody has a good combine, I really think it shoots them up the board. But this is a very deep draft at offensive lineman. Wouldn't you guys agree, Doe and Gub? This is one of the deeper offensive lineman drafts we've seen.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention that we talk a lot about the flashy players, the corners, the wide receivers, the defensive line, but this is probably the deepest line class we've had in about 4 seasons. You got tackles, guards that are going to just be spread out all through the first 2 rounds. They're going to make teams very happy. Solid strength, good speed, good pass blocking, run blocking. I didn't see many guys that were superstars, but I think there's a few in there. But in general, I think this is a pretty deep offensive line class.
Yeah, I think it's very top heavy too. I think there's a lot of really good value guys, and I think we could see a lot of them go in the first round. And a key for the offensive lineman is the running back. You know, a lot of the times the offensive line sets up a running back. Doe, you've got your second running back off the board at 23. You know, again, we talked about running backs earlier. Normally, they're not selected, you know, very high. Very rare to see them go in the first round. And normally, this is the area that we would see them go in the first round if we do. Gub still hasn't had a halfback off the board. But let's get a scouting report up for halfback Nick Bryan. JY, I'm going to send it over to you. What can you tell us about Nick Bryan? What stands out to you?
Well, the kid out of Tennessee, he's going to be very much like Titus Roth. He's got really great strength. He's got big hands, which allows him to not fumble as much. He's only had 1 fumble in 2 seasons at Tennessee. He's got a great jump cut. He's got good lateral quickness, and he explodes once he finds a hole in the offensive line. But he doesn't have breakaway speed. I mean, he has good first burst through the line, but after that, I mean, he's topped out.
Yeah, and I mean, but sometimes all it takes is getting through the line. If this guy's not going to fumble for you, he's going to be a really reliable back. That's what you're looking for in the MBL, is guys that don't turn the ball over. If you look at any of the people that make the playoffs, all these users, they're very low when it comes to turning the ball over. They've got a very good turnover ratio. So hanging on to the ball, I think, is huge. I think Nick Bryan could be a really, really good steal here, especially in the later rounds. All right, finally now let's switch it over. We've got the last 8 picks of the draft. These are going to be picks 25 through 32. And I want to say that normally these are playoff teams, but we had a lot of playoff teams actually trade out of these spots. So we've got a couple teams that were earlier on they're going to be picking here. Doe, switch it over to you. What can you tell us about picks 25 through 32?
Yeah, with the pick 25, I got the Jets taking a wide receiver We spoke a little bit earlier about that. I think wide receiver corner is a good combo for him. 2 picks in the draft. Pick 26 is one of my favorite players in this draft. Tyrus Woodard, he blew the combine away. He ran a 4.39. He can cover the whole field. And I know the Rams continue wanting to build up on their defense. And I think Woodard will be a great pick right here for them. The Bengals, they got a late first here, and I think they're going to get a value pick. Take that QB, Paulson. I think they're throwing a smokescreen out there. They don't really like Goff. Goff did nothing when he played for the Rams. He really didn't do much for the Bengals. And I think if Paulson's there, the Bengals are going to take the best value pick they have and grab him. The Texans, I think they're going to grab a safety. I know that both the safeties are coming up on contract years, and they want to see if they can bring somebody else in. And I like Favors out of Michigan State. With Kansas City, I got them taking the middle linebacker Hampton. Defense. I know that he's a solid offensive player. He got that linebacker Minter, and he wants to get a middle linebacker to pair up with him. And then the Colts, they were pick 3, and they traded back to get some additional picks. If you notice, 30 and 31 are the perennial Super Bowl teams with the Steelers and the Lions, and they both traded out this year. I got the Colts going all secondary, and they're going to grab Poteet and Groom back at the back end of the draft. And then I got the draft finishing out with Logan, and I think me and Gub agree that he's one of the top guards, and he's definitely going to bolster the Falcons' offensive line.
Yes, for sure.
Gub, do you have anything that you want to say there about those picks 25 to 32? I noticed you guys both have very different boards here. Doe's very safety and secondary heavy, whereas Gub, you focus a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. You got a lot of offensive linemen, some wide receivers, a couple defensive linemen, but you guys are really all over the place here with your 2 picks.
Well, these are the hardest teams to choose.
Right, they're because these teams, when you get towards the end of the draft, I mean, I know you got the Colts. They're not a playoff team usually, but most of these teams are they're playoff teams. They have solid players at each position. It's almost like, okay, where are they going to go for either depth, because they don't have a huge need. So that's why I got a lot of offensive linemen going towards the end of this, or a defensive lineman. Like I said, there's just not a glaring need for these teams this late in the draft, because they're playoff teams. They're always there. They're always good.
Yeah, and that's fair. These teams are normally just trying to fill a little bit of a smaller area. Doe, you were talking earlier about a guy that lit up the combine. You said you really like Tyrus Woodard. We have a combine card for strong safety Tyrus Woodard. Let's see what this guy did at the combine. Chunky, what can you tell us about how great of a combine this guy had?
Like Doe said, he really blew the combine out of the water. He very fast is one thing you notice right away, is he ran a 4.39. And as Doe said, he's going to be running all over the field. He's going to be able to cover everything and anybody that gets down in his side of the field. So that's one thing to look out for. Another thing is his vertical jump. He put up a 34.7 inch vert, and that's not bad. Middle of the road for safeties. And then another thing was his 3-cone, put up a 6.89, which was second among safeties. So very fast, very agile guy. Another thing is his hit power. He's very strong out on the field, and an A- hit power is just very good amongst safeties. So he's a guy to look out for in this draft.
Yeah, and we've seen that safeties can come in and make a big impact. Again, though, you can normally get safety value later in the draft. I've got a couple questions here for you. We're going to be opening it up to some questions from you viewers. So get those questions kind of stewing in your mind here real quick. Gub, I've got a question for you first, though. Doughboy had 3 guys on his top 32 that I really want to spotlight. That's going to be halfback Nick Bryan, strong safety Tyrus Woodard, and outside linebacker Marcus Hainsworth. He had him going all the way at 13. He had these guys all going in the first round. You didn't. What did you see in these guys that Doe did that left made you leave them out?
I don't think there's a running back worth a first round pick. Like I said earlier, Bananas pulled somebody off the JY's practice squad, and he was. There's also Hainsworth. I don't think there's an outside linebacker worth it at all. I don't think there's one worth a first round grade. I just didn't see those guys as first round picks. I thought it was easier.
Yeah, because you don't know how to spot value in impact players. So we just clarify that. Every one of those guys you mentioned will be a starter and impact player.
They could be a starter and not be drafted in the first round.
Yeah, you take starters and impact players in the first round. You don't draft maybe line guards or possible slow wide receivers. You take guys that you know are going to make plays, and all three of those guys are proven to do that. It just goes to show that I'm the better draft guru. So please just look at the center column. Let's talk about my guy right here, Marcus Haynesworth. I did compare him to one of your outside linebackers, so
that's so wrong.
So I'm just saying that he has the potential to be him.
That's disrespectful.
A hell of a guy. But Chunky, just go over a little bit of this, please. Enlighten Gub. He needs some help here.
I believe it's actually JY that's going to be handling the scouting report for Haynesworth. So we'll switch it over to JY instead of Chunky. Chunky probably doesn't have it up.
Probably not. All right, so Haynesworth is an outside linebacker from Oklahoma. Lindsey Kaiser is the comparison. He's got a good first move.
Disrespectful.
Explodes out of his stance. He's got good closing burst that explodes into the backfield. But the bad part is the kid uses his arms way too much to tackle. He doesn't have good strength in in his legs to drive running backs backwards. And I think that's really going to hurt him. I think you could maybe use him in coverage with his explosiveness, but after about 5 yards, he's going to start trailing.
Yeah, and that's fair to say. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think Haynesworth is going to be the player to watch in this draft. Before we finish up, I'm
going to give you the. Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah,
I'm going to give you
ahead.
the player to watch. I'm going to give my sleeper away. And Doe's going to say something because it's an offensive lineman. He makes fun of me every year because it's an offensive lineman. But yet I say 5 offensive linemen go in the first round and 5 offensive linemen go in the first round. It's and I actually have Doe taking
every one
guy.
of those teams regrets it because they don't remember that guy.
Not at all. Left tackle Connor Sundberg, the best lineman in this draft.
Who'd you have him going to?
I just said it. I had you taking him, but he's the best.
Okay. And we know you
That's
don't
my
have
sleeper.
to do mocks now.
All right. Go
you
ahead,
guys
TFA.
are killing me over here. I do have a couple sleepers that I wanted to discuss.
Wait, hold on. I want him to talk about that pick though, because one thing I will say. Sorry to cut you off, TFA. We might joke around, guys, but Gub can draft offensive line. Tell me about this tackle.
What do you want me to tell? What do you want me to tell you about him? He's the best one in this draft. He's the best one. Best run blocker. Best pass blocker. That's all I need to say. TFA, continue.
You guys are cracking me up over here. So let's get to these sleepers. I'll probably be interrupted again here, but that's what happens on this show. First guy I want to discuss is going to be halfback TJ Baker. We didn't see him go into the first round. Doe, I know you really like this guy. 6'1".
This is my bananas pick.
Yeah. This guy's 6'1", 222 out of Lafayette. What can you tell us here about TJ Baker?
Not
Are
much.
you talking to me, JY, Chunky? I don't know. Who's talking about this.
You, Doe. You and I were talking about this guy earlier. I know you really like this
I get
guy.
what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, this guy blew the combine out. Nobody had heard about him out of Lafayette. Runs a 4.34, 6.87 on the 3-cone, 4.13 second 20-yard shuttle. He will go top 45 guaranteed.
So
Bananas Jr.
I guess you can
Change
say
your name.
I guess you
I'm
can
not
put
taking him. I'm saying somebody like
You love
Miami,
the
they
speed.
took a guy
You
last
love
year, was a 6-rounder, and he started in the NBL. We know speed backs are valuable. Don't deny it. Just because you don't like halfbacks, can't say they don't have value.
I know they come up when I'm reviewing film. I fast forward. No point. So
That's
many
'cause you
good
run
ones we can
Wildcats,
take
so
later.
you just
on.
run sweep plays the whole time.
Get out
You
of
run
here.
17 Wildcats
Get
a game,
outta
and you
here.
want to talk about halfbacks not having
17.
value.
The rules
Run a real
too, though.
formation, line up
We
an I
switched
form,
it.
and play the game.
We switched the rule. Line up, and I do line up, and I hope we
I
play
form
this. I hope we play
Pussycat
this
is
year.
not a legit formation. All right.
I hope we language, please.
I tell you what, I hope you guys play this year too, because that will be one great MBL live game.
Put it on MBL Live now.
Yeah, that'll be one great game.
And count the Wildcats, guys. It's going to be like 27 of them.
27. That is a bold statement. One more guy I want to talk about here before we get to the questions from the chat. So get your questions into me in the chat here. We're going to be getting to those soon. Right guard Sefa Mickens. Out of all of the offensive linemen, we said it was a really deep draft. This guy's 6'4", 320. He's a big boy at Ohio State. But this guy probably had the best combine of all of the offensive linemen. Doe, again, let's jump back to you. What can you tell us about this guy?
Yeah, he was Bobo's right-hand man. Sefa Mickens just blew the combine out. 21 years old, from Ohio State. You see the combine, guys. Look at the 40-yard dash, 4.89. He's pulling. Bench press, 37 reps. He vert jumped 34-1. I think we saw a safety get 34-1. This guy, he was projected to go in the 5th round. I think that combine put him easily in the early second round. And I know Gub can't disagree with this because he likes offensive line players.
I'm surprised. Kudos. I'm surprised you brought up an offensive lineman. You hate him. But I give you your props, sir.
I knew I'd go out on compliments from Gub. That just shows, the draft guru and my assistant.
That is not something you hear very often, is compliments between the two of you guys. So where do you guys project Sefa Mickens? This is going to be a question from Markov34 in the chat. He wants to know where you guys project Sefa Mickens to go.
2nd, 3rd round.
Pick 9 in the 2nd round to Deca because he needs something to save his quarterback's life.
Oh, shots fired at Deca.
Deca needs more than that to save his life, right?
Bucks.
Oh, here's JY again, trying to get us to talk about his Bucks.
Yeah.
I don't want the Bucks to take a good player though, because they just get ruined for 4 years, and you have to wait to get them.
Oh.
Hey, it's just like college, man.
Did both the receivers for the Bucks go in this?
You don't
free
like
agency?
Jameis. He might be trying to get him killed. He don't need no lineman.
All right, let's switch it over here. We got some more questions coming in from the chat. Alex Moncada wants to know, who is the best linebacker in this draft?
Tafoya.
Wow, a consensus pick. That is something that does not happen often here on this show. So that was an easy one. Let's switch over. We got Chunky. Chunky's already here. Chunky, why don't you go ahead and ask this question?
I just want to know between you guys, who's better, Lavaris Bobo or Hudson Paulson?
Paulson.
Bobo.
You don't draft Bobo, okay? He's got a weenie arm. It's a weenie arm.
They benched Paulson at Alabama.
I don't care.
For a freshman.
Good, and that freshman was probably going to be coming in the NBL.
He can't handle NBL.
He'll be just fine. Chunky will take good care of him.
Is a bona fide star. He had Virgil to throw to. You look at the draft. Look at all the Ohio State guys. Bobo's a number one quarterback.
You heard it here first, guys. Bobo has a weenie arm. You might as well just throw it on a bun and eat it right up. Let's switch it over. We got another question coming in. Tim Hamilton, also known as Timbo, also known as Hollywood, wants to know, what player could be the Rookie of the Year, offensive or defensive? Who do you guys think has the best shot at being Rookie of the Year?
Patrick Amy.
Virgil. Delane.
I knew it was.
So both wide receivers, you heard that. They're both
as
going
long
wide
as they don't
receivers.
go to the Buccaneers.
Right.
Well,
I agree there.
Hey, I'm not going to disagree. Tampa Bay is where wide receivers come to either retire or
become Pro Bowlers on the next team.
I don't know.
It's like the Browns in real life.
To the Bills. Both my guys went to the Bills. We'll see how the Bills can take care of him, but I don't think he'll be surprised at how it's going to go.
Okay, we got a couple more questions here before we wrap it up. Markov34 wants to know, who has the most draft stock and who has the least draft stock? I think kind of what he's asking is who do you guys think is kind of the consensus to go, higher up? And who do you think has very little stock? Who do you think can kind of fall?
Eric Callaway would be my pick. I think it might be those two. He's consensus number one on both of our boards. I think he's got the most, upside of anybody in this draft. I think he's the best player in this draft. If you want to talk about somebody who could fall, I could see one of the quarterbacks falling, to be honest. Especially Bobo. See him not being a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about who has the best chance of falling, we know MBL and Iran Lynn. We haven't spoke much about him. We both agree that he's a great corner, but he had a really bad 40 time in the combine. He ran a 4.6, and that might scare away some teams. I mean, his agility drills were great, but he couldn't get that 40 time. He ran it 3 times, and it was a 4.6 every time. So I think Iran Lynn has a chance of dropping. I don't think he's going to drop too far, maybe down 10, 11, 12 range, but he might drop. I think the biggest upside, again, is Tyrus Woodard. I just think that he's just going to cover the whole field like the guy from the Jaguars took last year, Childress. I think Woodard has a chance to win Defensive Rookie of the Year to whatever team he goes on.
We do have breaking news. I wanna jump in here real quick. We do have some breaking news. San Diego did just sign the quarterback Doe ring, so I think that that could completely change who they take. I think you're right, Doe. I think we could see them taking a receiver at 18, possibly Leonard Easley, like you said. No. I highly doubt they're going to go Hudson Paulson, like Gub said. But we'll see. What were you going to say, Gub?
No, I mean, I agree with Doe now. Now that I don't like the pickup of Doring going to San Diego, I thought they should have went with the rookie and Paulson. But now that they have Doring, I could easily see him going easily. I think if a Lawson, who I think is better, I think if he's there at 18, I think that'd be a better pick for them. Or even maybe a Santaris Kaysen, but we'll see.
I've got a couple more questions.
I have one question for you, TFA.
Yeah.
Can I just get a Team Doe real quick from you one time?
Team Doe?
Appreciate it.
Oh, I got you, man. We got a couple more questions. We're going to finish it off here. I'm only going to take a couple more. MBL Network. I'm pretty sure Bomber's on the call there. Bomber wants to know, and I think this is probably what the whole league wants to know, is Callaway the no doubt number 1 pick?
I think so. He at number 1, especially in the MBL, you don't go anywhere else other than receiver or cornerback. You're there because you don't have enough playmakers at one of those positions, in my opinion.
Go ahead. Sorry.
They have Dillard Lloyd at receiver. He's a stud. They have Ben Gilbert. He's a stud. They don't need receivers, so they're not going to take an Amy. They're not going to take a Virgil. They're not going to they're not going to take a Crockett. They have Troy Kenny. We all know how, like I said earlier, the Ravens love their safety play, their cornerback play. They got 2 stud safeties. They only got 1 good corner, Troy Kenny. I think Aaron Callaway would be a phenomenal pick for them to pair across from Troy Kenny.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that are definitive in NBL. 1, the Buccaneers will be a top 5 team if JY is the owner. 2, Bomber or Lip will be in the championship game. And if a corner is as good as Callaway, they're going to go number 1.
All right, I have something I'm going to throw out there real quick when it comes to the Ravens.
Team Gub.
Yeah, Team Gub. All right, so my big thing is, so you guys say playmakers, and I understand that, but looking at the Ravens' defensive line, I mean, their highest overall ranked player right now is 74, which is a defensive, a left end. His defensive tackles are almost as bad as mine right now after McCoy retired. Could you guys not see the number 1 defensive tackle or a D tackle going number 1?
I can't. No.
Can you go sit in the corner, please? This is the 2nd year in a row you said the dumbest thing. First, it was a quarterback that was projected on the 17th round of unrestricted free agency, and now you just said that the number 1 pick should be a defensive line on the weakest defensive line draft this cycle. Just sit down. Just stop talking, please. TFA, can you continue the conversation?
No, wait. I get to come in here and I get to defend myself, by the way. He's got Troy Kenny, who's 27, who's 92 overall, great cornerback. He's got a 24-year-old cornerback in Julius Thornton, who's overall 76 and played really well. He's got a good safety. He's got 2 good, strong safeties. He's fine in the defensive backfield. He needs defensive line.
He's not, because he still lets up 500 yards a game passing, and he's got to win shootouts
because he needs all the help to the quarterback. He lets the quarterback have all day long to pick him apart.
He also has the 33rd pick, and you can get a defensive line player there because there's none worth the first round pick.
There's 4 or 5 really good defensive tackles, and if you're talking, go at 33 for one of your defensive tackles.
Now, before a WWE style brawl breaks out in here, I'm going to kind of reel it in here. We're going to close it out here. I know Chunky wanted to say something about the Doring signing. Chunky, you there? You wanna kind of post on that, see how that affects your mock draft?
Yep. First thing I want to say is hashtag Team Gub all day. Second thing I want to say is Doring doesn't necessarily rule out me not drafting a QB. I could still draft a QB. Who knows what's going to happen? That's all I
can see it. I think what did the Bills go? The Bills went with somebody picked up Roethlisberger last year and then still drafted a quarterback. So I could see it.
That would be
Roethlisberger and then Ely last year.
That would be a very
hashtag
TFA-like
learn
thing
how
to
to throw
do.
with the lefty.
I think you guys are thinking about the Panthers when he picked up Matty Ice and then he drafted Arguez.
No, they both did. Bills and the Panthers. Bills took Roethlisberger, drafted Ely, and then the Panthers did the same with Matt Ryan and Araguz.
Well, I want to thank you guys for a great show. I think you guys did a real good job. Is there anything else that any of you guys want to say to all the viewers and all the listeners and all of MBL?
Just the dough, man. I enjoy this every year.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's definitely fun. I appreciate it. I look forward to it. And thanks for having us on, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we always enjoy it. This is one of my favorite shows to do all year. Even though these guys go back and forth, they have a real good time getting on here, telling you guys who they think they're going to take. And we'll be, it'll be interesting to follow the mock draft. We have the live draft tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see how their mock draft actually plays out. And maybe on our next episode of the Blitz, we'll kind of go back and we'll touch on that, and we'll kind of see who was the closer of the two mock drafts. So that's going to do it for this year's pre-draft special. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, as well as thank Gub and Dough both for coming on the show. JY and Chunky as well. You guys did a great job with the scouting reports and the combine cards. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night as we have the MBL Season 24 draft live on the MBL Network starting at 8 p.m. Eastern as OSU, Bomber, Sonny, and Dough are all going to be bringing you the draft action. You're not going to want to miss it. On behalf of everyone here at the Blitz, I want to thank you for tuning in. As always, I'm your host, TFA.